this is the stuff they get angry at now. Like, this is what conservatism is. It's looking at a person saying, hey, a friend of mine got a lot of hate, you know, thank you all for being kind, but some of you weren't, and I hope that you don't, like, harass her or be racist or whatever. And that's what gets them angry. That's it. Because what Ben Shapiro wants, and what conservatives want ultimately, is for there to be no cultural blowback whatsoever to people being racist. Star Wars goes woke again. Oh no. Wait. All I saw of this is that there's like a black chick. What did they do?
Hollywood is now, they've come up with a new way of defending against making crap content. Their new way of defending against making crap content is to slander everybody who doesn't like their content as racist. So Star Wars has now preemptively done this. So you remember they did this with The Last Jedi. So there is a character in The Last Jedi called Rose. Rose is a terrible...
Well, to be fair, it's just that people keep being racist, right? Like, all of the new Star Wars shit, there's been so much stuff. First of all, a lot of people have been super weird about Finn. I know that the sequel trilogy started a while ago. I don't even remember what the name of the first one was. But, like, there were so many fucking alt-writers talking about how Finn, being a black guy who was, like, into Rey, the white woman, was, like, cucking Star Wars, you know? And then Rose was, like... I don't even remember. Rose Asian, and nobody liked her, so they just made her disappear for the third movie? Or something? Right? Yeah, because in the third movie, they bitched out. And they were like, yeah, we have to, like, not upset the fans. Then the third sequel movie ended up being the worst one. The worst one by far, right? The Last Skywalker or whatever. Rose was terrible, though. Yeah, well, Rose can be terrible, and you don't have to be racist about it, right? There were people being pretty weird. Pretty weird. Basically, anytime anyone, like, as a general rule, like, basically anytime there's ever a problem at all with anything having to do with a person of color, racists will latch onto it, people will call the racists racist, and then conservative media will defend the racists by claiming that the people who are calling it racist are whiny SJW cucks. The same thing happens every time. The basic consequence of this rule is that anytime a non-white person, or fuck it, even like a non-dude, people were super mad at the chick in the second sequel movie too, right? Or was it the first sequel movie? The tall one with the purple... The lady... Is it Holdo? Yeah, people didn't like her either. Even though, didn't she end up being right? Holdo was also a shit character. But, again, the problem is, when a white guy is a shit character, it's because SJW media hates white guys and wants to make them bad so that their legion of fans will think they're bad. And whenever a non-white guy character is bad, it's because it's because the actor is shit and it's SJW pandering. There's no way around it. Like, it's a completely all-encompassing, non-falsifiable worldview. And Ben Shapiro and conservative media in general will always defend it, yeah.
Terrible character. Like a really, really bad character that no one cared about and is boring and terrible. And people noted this. So immediately, you started to see think pieces about the toxic fandom of The Last Jedi, the toxic fandom of Star Wars. It wasn't that they had created a crappy character. A major media conglomerate, using the most famous IP in history, had made a crappy character and inserted that crappy character into a crappy movie, The Last Jedi. Now, the problem was people didn't like that character. And the reason they didn't like the character is because she was Asian, clearly. Now, what was weird is that nobody, except for apparently the Chinese audience, actually cared that Finn, who's a black character, was in The Force Awakens.
Okay, let me simplify this with a graph really quick. Just so we can really, really weigh out the variables, Simply false. Oh, well, of course it's false, yeah, but, okay, to weigh out the variables, okay? It's like a back and forth, okay? So, first you have... How do I do this tactfully? First you have a black guy, okay? And then what happens next, it doesn't really matter whether or not the black dude is cool, okay? So, if the black dude... Here, in fact, we're going to do two scenarios here, okay? Two black guys. White genocide, okay? So here, observe, okay? This is the back and forth. All right? Basically, first, let's say this is if it's good, and this is if it's bad, like the character, like if they're like a cool character. Okay? If it's good, all right? First it starts, all right, with racists hating them because they're black, which happens all the time. This happened with Finn. Finn's a good character, right? Okay? And then people who aren't racist are like, "Hey, that's racist, stop." And then conservative media will pretend this never happened and go, "Hey, why are you just accusing everyone of being racist for not agreeing with you? Wow, you can't even have a black character in media without like accusing everyone defensively of being racist for not agreeing with every element of your agenda." And then if you have a character that isn't as good, okay, you have two arrows coming forward at first. One of them is that the character is bad, and the other is like that they're black and the person is racist. And then people respond in turn. Yeah, maybe the character is bad, but don't be racist. And then conservative media will pretend the only criticism that they received was that the character was bad and not that the racism happened, and they go back to attack. This is a completely non-falsifiable like situation. There's no way around it. There's like I've seen this scenario play out with so many characters, and it's always non-white characters or trans people or whatever, you know, like minority characters. This has happened literally hundreds of times. It happens every time, with a few exceptions. This is always what happens. There's no way around it. The reason that this happens, sometimes it's ignorance. In the case of Ben Shapiro and conservative media, though, they're just pro-racism. And it's to their benefit to obfuscate the issue and play defense for racism.
I mean, Finn was not hit by an overwhelming wave of American racism.
He absolutely was. Okay, yeah, whatever. I'm not hitting the Wayback Machine. This is just a flat out obvious lie.
In The Force Awakens, it was just Rose who was hit with supposedly an overwhelming wave of racism.
Also true.
Mainly because Finn's character is not nearly as crappy as Rose's character in the sequel trilogy. So, but by the way, when I talk about Chinese racism, what I mean is that Disney, in making The Force Awakens, actually removed they removed Finn from the Chinese posters because there's so much anti-black racism in China. Okay, so this is the new model, apparently.
You'll notice conservatives only care about corporations lessening their progressive standards when it's happening in other countries. So when Disney takes out like gay and black characters for like Chinese releases, that's bad and bad on Disney. But when Disney keeps gay characters from being shown in Gravity Falls here in America, that's actually based of Disney. It's almost like they don't actually care about black people or LGBT issues and only like deflecting and turning it into some kind of like hypocrisy issue on the part of Disney.
For Disney and the Star Wars universe is to preemptively declare that if you are that
remember what I said with my chart? I didn't pre-watch this. Now he's saying right here preemptively, they're saying preemptively that everyone who doesn't like this character is racist. And that's only true if you ignore the fact that people are already being racist.
We know that we've made a character who isn't really very likable. But if the character's a minority and you don't like...
Wait, what character are we referring to? Wait, what character are we even referring to here? That he hasn't said.
Like the character? Clearly, this is because you're a racist. Clearly. Okay, so Star Wars put out a preemptive tweet. It was a preemptive tweet. Like, I've yet to see... I'm seeing a lot of talk about the toxic fandom of Star Wars. I haven't seen anybody beyond people with like 2 Twitter followers tweeting stuff about Moses Ingram. Okay, but Star Wars tweeted out like,
wait, 12 Years a Slave posters in Italy? No way, dude. This is incredible. That is amazing right there. Oh my god, that is so funny. Holy shit, that is incredible. Yeah, I love it. It's so direct. Does anyone else feel like it's weird having Brad Pitt? I feel like Brad Pitt only worked in a historical piece, if you can even call it that, for Django, because Django is so cartoony. But for a serious historical piece, Brad Pitt's face is just quintessentially 21st century. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? There's something about the way he looks that I feel like just naturally roots him. Wait, huh? Oh my god, you're right, it was DiCaprio! Oh, then that proves my point. I was thinking, like, Brad Pitt doesn't belong in older movies, except for when he was in Django. But that wasn't even Brad Pitt. So I'm right. Brad Pitt was in Inglourious Bastards. Well, that's also a cartoony movie. Whatever. Yeah, exactly, Guy.
The people who run the Star Wars account. Quote, "We are proud to welcome Moses Ingram to the Star Wars family and excited for Reva's story to unfold. If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we have only one thing to say. We resist." Okay, wait, so that is preemptive, right? If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we have only...
Watch him twist his panties into a knot over this. Literally like, hey, if you're gonna be mean, don't. Whoa, what are you implying, that people are racist sometimes? Nobody is racist in modern America. You know, because if they were, a lot of his arguments would fall apart.
Even saying you're being racist to her, we're saying if you might think about being racist to her by not liking her character, we resist because...
Wait. They didn't say that. All they said is if anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, which can be interpreted as a statement about race. Nobody said if anyone doesn't like her character.
We resist. Okay, wait, so that is preemptive, right? If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we have only... We're not even saying you're being racist to her. We're saying if you might think about being racist to her by not liking her character, we resist because...
So, do you notice now how this is a truly non-falsifiable argument from Ben? There's no way to accuse a person of being racist in his worldview without it being a way of deflecting criticism of the character. In his worldview, there is simply no way to respond to the existence, present or future or past, of racism without it being some shady corporate deflection. Of course, everything corporations do is shady corporate deflection, but, you know.
Because you're bad. You're really, really... Now, here's the thing.
When did they say
Moses
that?
Ingram is actually a pretty good actress. She played Lady Macduff in the Joel Cohen production of Macbeth, and she's very good in it. Like, she actually is really good. I haven't seen her performance in Obi-Wan because I haven't watched a single minute of Obi-Wan because, frankly, I find the entire series kind of insulting. I don't care what happened to Obi-Wan between episodes 3 and 4. I don't care at all. Like, it doesn't matter to me. That's not an important part of the story. It's just you trying to suck the life out of...
This is the most relatable Ben Shapiro has been for the entire video so far. I don't give a shit about Star Wars. You will not get me involved with the Star Wars extended universe. It took all my energy and all my willpower to watch the first 2 of the 3 sequel movies, and I stopped right there. And I will never lift another finger, and I don't care.
Of an old character who has actual name recognition and then drive value for Disney Plus, which then uses that money in order to indoctrinate kids in the not-so-secret gay agenda, according to...
I'm sorry. I blanked out for 2 seconds listening to chat, and we went psycho again. What happened?
An old character who has actual name recognition and then drive value for Disney Plus, which then uses that money in order to indoctrinate kids in the not-so-secret gay agenda, according to their own employees. So I'm like...
Is he talking about the Owl House? You see, the entire Star Wars extended universe is just a money-generating scheme for them to funnel where the real money goes, which is all ages animation with queer characters in it. That's the real... It's a whole Trojan horse, you know. Phenomenal stuff there. Love that. Absolutely love that. You know, sure. Whatever.
Like, not interested, right? This is why Daily Wire is dumping $100 million into creating kids content.
Definitely not weird, by the way, for an explicitly partisan political organization to spend $100 million on creating content for children. You know, what is the term with conservatives? Every accusation is a confession. Disney is trying to groom children to being gay. Our only way of resisting is funding $1/10 billion on children's programming deliberately designed to produce a specific political outcome to get them while they're young, you know? Yeah. It's probably a lie also. Okay, well, I've seen the kids content produced by Prager University, and I have to say, if it means more of that shit to react to, then I don't know, I'm kind of on board. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope they really branch out and they try to, like, do the conservative version of every single era of, like, children's programming for the past half century, so we get, like, That's So Raven style shows where a bunch of 20-year-olds and one, like, 14-year-old are all pretending to be high schoolers. And the premise is that, like, somebody has the magical ability to talk to animals, and like the animals teach lessons like fiscal responsibility and the necessity to have sex only for reproduction. That would be fucking hilarious. That would be incredible. You wouldn't watch that? Come on. It's not like any of this stuff is going to be good.
With that said, that is a preemptive attack on the audience. And then Star Wars said there are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. Who are these people?
I do appreciate the fact that conservative commentary has degraded to the point where they are just getting outraged at being told not to be racist. You may not remember this, but a while ago, this was not something conservatives would get mad about. Like, a conservative would look at this and go, oh, I agree, and then, like, deny the existence of racism, but still agree with the sentiment of not being racist. But now, merely being told racism is bad is enough to get them going. Thought that Will guy was familiar. He did look an awful lot. Nice shot, by the way. I like Homelander when he had his hair doilied up. But Homelander isn't gay. He just likes Milkies, right?
Who are they talking to?
Homolander. That's good. Thank you.
Names. But seriously, if there's actual racism out there against this person,
hypothetically, if there was racism against a black woman who was a prominent character in a piece of Star Wars media. Hypothetically.
Just an egg Twitter emoji, like an egg Twitter profile pic.
Egg?
With 2 followers. Who are these massive racists who are saying that Moses Ingram can't be part of the Star Wars universe? Who are these people? But again, they have to preemptively do this because they've done a crappy job with so much.
Are we going to investigate that question? Like, hypothetically, if there were people being racist, are there? I mean, he seems to be relying on the audience's assumption that there aren't. Also, Moses Ingram showed examples of the DMs she received, which included people calling her the N-word. Yeah, and I'm sure they're all Ben Shapiro fans.
Much of the Star Wars content that I guess this is the new way to avoid the consequences of making bad content and also to generate critical response. Like, and now the critics will fall into your corner even if what you're making is not particularly good.
Because you tweeted, don't be racist? Okay, conservatives live in a fantasy universe where the inclusion of minority characters in a piece of media makes all of the reviewers just sigh and, like, fall back. Have you seen how people talk about Disney properties? They get raked over the coals. It's like the idea that all criticism is interpreted as a bigotry is just objectively not the case. People shit talk the sequel series for Star Wars all the time. In fact, the member of the sequel series that gets the criticism the most is probably the most recent one, the Last Skywalker. Everyone hates the Last Skywalker. Like, like the idea they want to live in a world. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to repeat myself. The point of this messaging, which is being done deliberately, by the way, the Rise of Skywalker, sorry, not the Last Skywalker, I don't care. The point of this messaging is that Ben Shapiro wants his audience to believe that they, conservatives, are a besieged minority, that the entire world has been taken over by woke cultists, for language has an entirely different set of meanings. There's no, like, communicability between them and the other group. They're completely insane. And that the act of disliking a piece of Disney media is a revolutionary blow against the woke corporate mob, which wants you to believe that any criticism of their media is a product of bigotry. What he's trying to frame this right now is a hashtag so brave rebuttal of the dogma of the Disney brand, which is so silly. So incredibly silly when so many people criticize this media. And it also gives way to bigotry, of course, because by denying its existence when it's obviously there, you essentially say that the existing racism is permissible because it's not racism.
Jim Treacher wrote recently, and he's correct, they're using the Jedi mind trick to make you think there's some huge wave of racism against Star Wars.
Against Star Wars? No, against minority characters within Star Wars. Against Star Wars. What?
McGregor then cut a video from his car, a personal message from Ewan McGregor. Like, they went all out on this line. And again, I'm not, like, where is the giant wave of racism against this person? You would think that if you're going to generate...
Didn't she get, like, bullied off Instagram and received a bunch of, like, hate in DMs? Yeah. I mean...
this amount of blowback against the racist Star Wars base, you'd actually have to show...
What? Wait, what blowback? It was, like, 2 tweets. It was 2 tweets. Wait, where's the Ewan McGregor video? Can somebody find it so I can play it? I want to see. I haven't seen it. Keep in mind, all that he's complaining about right now is people associated with the show saying, please don't be racist. That's it. Disney and Ewan McGregor condemn horrendous racism sent to Obi-Wan Kenobi star Moses Ingram.
This weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan
Holy shit, it's Vosh.
Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all time. And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together. However, it seems that some of the fan base, from this influential fan base, have decided to attack Moses Ingram online and send her the most horrendous racist DMs. And I heard some of them this morning and it just broke my heart. Moses is a brilliant actor. She's a brilliant woman. And she's absolutely amazing in this series. She brings so much to the series. She brings so much to the franchise. And it just sickened me to my stomach to hear that this had been happening. I just want to say, as the leading actor in the series, as the executive producer on the series, that we stand with Moses. We love Moses. And if you're sending her...
Ben Shapiro is seething with rage right now.
bullying messages, you're...
Like, literally, right? Like, this is what they get mad at. This is the stuff they get angry at now. Like, this is what conservatism is. It's looking at a person saying, hey, a friend of mine got a lot of hate, you know, thank you all for being kind, but some of you weren't, and I hope that you don't, like, harass her or be racist or whatever. And that's what gets them angry. That's it. Because what Ben Shapiro wants, and what conservatives want ultimately, is for there to be no cultural blowback whatsoever to people being racist. That's it. They just want free permission. Just completely unimpeded cultural permission to be racist as much as they want. And any pushback on that will be treated by conservatives as an authoritarian, hypocritical attack on their free speech.
You're no Star Wars fan in my mind. There's no place for racism in this world. And I totally stand with Moses.
Is there a list or like a show of the harassment that was received? People said that they had receipts. Is there like a Insta post or something? If she was bullied off Instagram, she doesn't have an Instagram story anymore. CNN video?
The thing that bothers me is that, like, sort of this feeling that I've had inside of myself, which no one has told me, but this feeling of, like, I just gotta shut up and take it. And I'm not built like that.
University hire will be loved and remembered for this role.
Really just wanted to come on, I think, and say thank you to the people who show up for me in the comments and the places that I'm not gonna put myself. And to the rest of y'all weird.
She's only 28 too. Leave Moses alone. Holy shit, I'm 28. Do you think I have a chance? Oh, here's a screenshot from the Insta story. Ayo Kenobi, you ain't fin... Oh, wait, here we go. Get ready. Get ready for somebody who jerks off to interracial porn, imitating AAVE. Ayo Kenobi, you ain't finna run forever, white boy. Get back here. Third sister, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've now been converted to the St. George of Floydium of Star Wars. Are you happy? This doesn't even make any sense. You can try harder with your racism. No. Chat. The racism is the second most pressing issue here. Like, this is lazy. Come on. They could have done better. How the fuck does an alien know it? Eubonics? How do you misspell Ebonics while trying to be racist at another person's linguistic abilities? What? Okay. This is... Okay. Racism is the third most severe problem here. 1, lazy. 2, retarded. 3, racist. Sorry. European Bonics. Yeah, master race at hand here. This is, this person cooms 4 times a day to interracial porn. 100%. No shot that's not the case. 100%. Really grotesque stuff, too, you know? Like, really, like, they're saying some nasty stuff over there. Okay, I did see this video. This one was quite funny. Diversity, hire human shield. Operation Get Behind the Darkies is real. I can't believe this is a real YouTube thumbnail. Also, wait, the earlier thing says, how the fuck does an alien know? Well, they meant to say Ebonics. Does the character in the show even speak in AAVE? No? Yeah, I didn't think so. They look like a super imperious, like, ultra stern, like, rigid imperial type. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know, watched in German? Holy based. Don't know, watched in German? That's so fucking based. Holy shit. I don't even know. I just watched the German dub. I don't even speak German, you know? I just watched the German dub. You know, if we really want to talk about the offensive imposition of AAVE into Star Wars, man, I don't know.
Love you.
You almost got us killed. Are you brainless?
I speak.
The ability to speak does not make you
Thanks, Mr. Your humble servant.
That won't be necessary.
No.
But it is. It is demanded by the gods, it is.
No. Fuck. Misa and Big Doo-Doo this time. That's right. If you think Jar Jar Binks is a bad character, it means you're racist.
Show evidence of the racist Star Wars base, en masse rejecting the character not because she's a crap character, but because she's black. Yeah, I find that whole line of argument really hard to believe, considering that maybe the most popular character in the first trilogy, like the original trilogy, is Lando Calrissian, who's the coolest dude in the original trilogy.
So first of all, you have to go back 50 years there. The internet wasn't even around back then. And second of all, I'm pretty sure Lando Calrissian got some criticism back then. It's also worth pointing out that Lando was a character, or was made a character, back when Star Wars was like a small geek property. That's the thing. Back in the day, Star Wars wasn't this gigantic, like, massive Disney property. It was like a niche sci-fi or science fantasy story, you know? So back then, there was no internet. There wasn't some giant cultural discourse every time their movies came out, you know? Nowadays, it's in a completely different, yeah. Nah, Star Wars was also huge. Compared to what it is today, not even comparable. Not to say, when I say niche, I mean relative to today. I'm not saying that it was insignificant back then. I'm saying that right now, compared to what we have today, I don't think there's any comparison in terms of, like, cultural discourse. A lot of that is just because of the internet, I think, where, like, discourse... It used to be, to have discourse on a movie, you had to do it at, like, the mall. Like, you would meet people in the mall, you know? And now we have Twitter. It's a whole different era. I didn't mean to imply the original movies were insignificant. You can't compare anything back then to today. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. It was Husker. Oh my god, chat. I swear to god, for the boomers in chat, I fucking know. I have the stories from my dad. I know it was a huge deal back then. I apologize if I phrased things in a way that didn't make it immediately obvious. What I mean is that, in terms of cultural discourse and impact, and what effect that it has on the discourse, things today are incomparable to what they were back then. Star Wars was big, but it was also a science fiction story. Nowadays, those genre barriers aren't really what define the popularity of media. The biggest movies these days are superhero movies. Back in those days, superhero properties were like for children, you know? And sci-fi was a relatively niche genre. Star Wars was big back in those days, but nowadays, what Disney sells is the genre. It's not so much genre that matters these days as it is, like, the studios willing to front it. Okay, can we move on? Also, was Lando Vosh, you're full of shit. Star Wars was the biggest movie ever started. All right. Can't reason with these people. Gotta have a sacrificial lamb. Also, I don't even know whether or not there was racist discourse on Lando back in the day. Hold on. Lando Calrissian controversy. I think for the most part, like Billy D. Williams was just considered to be like a sex symbol and people like that, you know? This is completely asinine. Even if we were to acknowledge no racism at all back then against Lando, which, I mean, minimal racism, I suppose we'll say, couldn't you just argue conservatism and conservatives' relationship to culture has gotten worse? Because I would definitely make that argument. I think that back in the 1980s and shit, you know, conservatives, even back during Reagan's era, conservatives made an effort to, at least in terms of cultural consumption, to promote the perceived value of inclusivity. But these days, every single fucking time a non-white character is in like a piece of media, you get the exact same blowback, supported by major conservative publications every time. Vosh original trilogy made about 1.7 billion at the box office while being widely renowned, while the sequel trilogy made about 4.4 billion while being widely panned. Fuck, that's so depressing to think about. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't really know.
Okay, Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980. That is 42 years ago. It was 4 years before I was born when Lando Calrissian came out as a character in the Star Wars universe. So I'm just wondering, like, why are we now talking about racism in the Star? Like, Lando Calrissian was the cool. It makes no sense. Anyway, here's
Wait, what? Why are we talking about racism now when 45 years ago there was another black character? What?
Ewan McGregor doing this routine as well.
This
we do get
weekend,
to hear him.
Star
What's
Wars
up?
fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney
Okay, well, we did just see this, so I'm just going to skip ahead.
place for racism in this world.
Yeah, a question. Where is the massive wave of public racism against Mos Ingram? You mean like some trolls were trolling people and being jackasses? I can't believe it.
Do you remember what I said? How Ben Shapiro's perspective here is explicitly pro-racism, because by denying the existence of racism here, he has to frame existing evident racism as, like, insignificant and meaningless?
Shocking to me. I myself have never received any anti-Semitic messages, except for literally all of them in 2015, 2016.
Well, yeah. And who did you receive those from? The most public anti-Semitism that Ben Shapiro has ever received was from the alt-right and Nick Fuentes. A group that, you know, quite a few of them, you know, got to where they are after more standard conservative, you know. And a lot of it was because he was anti-Trump. Oh, true! Ben Shapiro was anti-Trump. The anti-Semitism that he received was from the people who were with Trump from the beginning. Whereas Ben Shapiro was anti-Trump up until Trump ended up beating out all the other primary candidates. So when he received massive anti-Semitism, it was from the pro-Trump right. I don't know, Ben. Maybe that is something we should think about. Now that you bring it up, I would be happy to talk about that.
Like all of them on the internet. This.
Like, why would he mention the time period during which he received anti-Semitism if he didn't want to imply that it was a product of Trump following? What? Okay.
Again, is a preemptive strike on the Star Wars fan base by suggesting that a substantial portion, shockingly, all the people who don't like this particular series or this particular character, all of them must be racist, which of course...
Literally not said or even implied. Just schizo posting. Not even implied remotely from what they said. The language of the tweets from the company and Ewan McGregor were not harsh or even, like, broad at all. They were both basically like, yeah, you know, we love our community, but, like, racism is unacceptable. And if that message is controversial to conservatives, it's because they're pro-racism.
Is, you know, it is a ginned up controversy because no one is in favor, anyone of sentient mind, no one is in favor of Moses Ingram being hit with racist DMs.
Right there. Again, this is a pro-racism sentiment. He is in favor of racism because when you say racism doesn't exist. So what, by the way, what do you mean no one of sane mind? Like, what does that mean? So like so the racism does exist. It's just from insane people. Okay. So it's still a problem then. Basically all racism is fake. So, okay.
I will also note here that this is the same Star Wars universe that summarily canned Gina Carano for the great sin of saying that people shouldn't be mean to each other.
She compared treatment of Trump voters to the Holocaust. That's what she said. She tweeted, anyone who says Ben Shapiro is honest, like, no. That's what she said. She said people shouldn't be mean to each other. That's the entirety of what she said there. Jesus Christ. What was the anti-vaxxers. That was it. She compared people who were anti-vaxxers to Jews during the Holocaust. Not a serious person at all.
And by the way, I will mention right here that when they canned Gina Carano, and not a single member of Gina Carano's cast, ranging from Pedro Pascal, who had made overt Holocaust references on his own Twitter page.
What do you mean? Wait, what does that mean? Holocaust references? What is that? A history book has Holocaust references. Notice how weird his language is. Overt Holocaust references? What do you mean? What? In what context? What do you mean? He's such a Weasley little shit, dude. I wish I could play basketball with him as the ball. I want to, like, do the Space Jam thing where you, like, squish him into a ball and, like, dribble him, you know? He's such a little fucking geek, nerd, lame-o bitch baby. What is this fantasy? I don't know. Shut up. Overt references. What the fuck does that mean? She was fired for telling people to be nice to each other. What the fuck are you talking about? God, I want to push him into a locker.
And that was the ostensible reason why they fired Gina Carano, is because she tweeted out a photo of people chasing Jews in the streets. And she said, when people dehumanize each other, this is what happens. And she was fired for that.
And what was she comparing that to? What was the comparison? We're leaving out. So, Gina Carano correctly pointed out that the Holocaust was bad. Thank you, Gina. Nailed that one. Doing good. But she compared it to something. The funny thing is, hasn't Ben Shapiro been extremely willing to weaponize his Jewish identity to try to cancel leftists? Like Ilhan Omar. Every time Ilhan Omar breathes, Ben Shapiro's on the case to talk about how she wants to genocide all Jewish people. Meanwhile, Gina Carano is, like, completely devaluing. Yeah, like, with these insanely... Yeah. He accuses people of anti-Semitism in bad faith constantly. Oh, this was the other thing, by the way, from Pedro Pascal, which I don't have a problem with at all. The border camps are definitionally concentration camps, and the concentration camps are definitionally concentration camps. I agree it's a bit tasteless. My issue here is more so that it's over-earnest than anything, not so much that it's politically indefensible. I think you could very clearly make the argument like, yeah, this starts as this. Death camps begin as concentration camps, begin as internment camps for undesirables, which we do consider undocumented immigrants to be, or asylum seekers. I think that's fair. Gina Carano's statement that anti-vaxxers are like the Jews in the Holocaust is not a defensible statement.
Pedro Pascal had openly suggested that American immigration policy was similar to Auschwitz.
Yep. In fact, the Nazis based their eugenics policies on America. Our treatment of the Native Americans, our eugenicist writers, we literally threw Japanese people in concentration camps while the war was going on. Yeah, no, that's an easy one to argue. That's an easy one.
Nothing. And Pedro Pascal, when Gina Carano got fired, there wasn't a single member of the Star Wars universe who had the balls to come out and defend Gina Carano. They all just went completely silent because they're cowards.
I think they went silent because they didn't care. What does that mean? I think they just didn't care.
They're absolute cowards. Right? This is very safe territory. Racism bad is very safe territory. People I disagree with should be allowed to work on the show. That is unsafe territory for these folks, which is why we're very proud to have immediately stepped in and begun working with Gina Carano on the fabulous new movie Terror on the Prairie that is going to be coming out in the next couple weeks, which is just another reason.
I can't wait. I love it when conservatives try to make propaganda like media, not just propaganda, but propaganda like entertainment, because they're really bad at it. Wasn't she pushing election conspiracies too? Oh yeah, she's a full-on magatard. Yeah. Anyway, I guess if there's any lesson we're to take from this, and if that lesson is not to be, I didn't know how popular the original Star Wars trilogy was, which was not relevant to my argument, thank you. The real lesson here is that the mentality that conservatives have towards racism towards non-white characters in media is non-falsifiable. From their perspective, from their framework, there's no way to prove their system wrong. It can't actually be done. No matter if racism is there, no, it's not. And if they can't deny that it's there, they'll say it's just from crazy people and it's just trolling, you know? And any disavowal of racism is an attack on the fan base, somehow? I don't know about you guys, but when Games Workshop came out with that super based, like, Black Lives Matter anti-fascist statement, after a fash showed up at a Spanish tournament, Games Workshop will never accept nor condone any form of prejudice, hatred, or abuse. See, here's the crazy thing, guys. Because I'm not racist, when companies that produce media that I enjoy say we don't tolerate racism, I don't feel excluded as a member of the fan base. I feel included. This is crazy. When people who make media say racism bad, as a non-racist, I am not implicated in that attack on racism, you know, if you can believe it. I actually like it when they do that, because I consider it to be an attack on the validity of that piece of media, on the community, you know, on the integrity, by allowing racist people to sort of propagate within it. I consider it to be actually a support of the community to purge its more pernicious elements. You have to keep the house clean. The quartering reaction to the racist messages. I know what the quartering's reaction is. All right, yeah, okay. I'll listen to a second.
And to be honest with you, I don't even think you could really call any of these.
Oh my God. This is what we were looking at. Ayo Kenobi, you ain't finna run forever, white boy. You've been converted to St. George of Floydium. How does an alien know eubonics? Finish the statement, quartering. Come on. Come on. You're jumping. You're up in the air. Lay at the slam dunk.
I mean, you don't have to really stretch to call any of these racist.
And he gets it. Yes. From mid-court, the man leaps. You're not. He's got the N-word on his screen when he says this.
This one definitely, the first one definitely isn't.
Oh, okay.
Calling someone a diversity hire, yeah, you could probably argue that that's fringe.
Really? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Quartering. Maybe. Just accusing any minority of being unloved, terrible, and a diversity hire. You know, possibly, you know, I guess you could argue that might be racist.
You know, like, that's saying that you're only hired for this color of your skin. But I mean, we know that Disney does this. This is something that they openly say they do.
They don't say they do that. So he's just making that up. Again, conservatives always have the self-justifying mechanisms. Whenever they see racism, they always have some way of excusing it. So even just flatly racist shit, they can look at and go, well, oh yeah, well, the thing they're saying is true. It's not, but they'll say it is, you know?
I mean, it is a mean thing to say, okay? This one, not racist.
Operation Get Behind the Darkies is real. Diversity hire human shield. All right?
Poorly worded, but, you know, whatever.
And you see this DM where they called her an N-word was poorly worded. N-word is, after all, just a synonym for black, so really, they were just calling her black, which is true. She is black, and, you know, it's just a word choice, but...
This one, again, written like a 12-year-old.
No lie.
You know, how many of these are English-speaking first language people even?
What? Maybe the racism was an accident because it came from a fucking Mexican? What? It came from an Italian. It came from an Italian. ESL wanted to be way more racist than it actually came off. But they failed because they don't know English that well, you know?
And you're talking about how many thousands of messages did she have to go through to find these 4? Again, wrong?
So no amount would have been enough. She could have put out 20 and it would have been like, oh, just 20? It could have been at 100. Oh, just 100, you know?
Dumb,
Dumb.
childish.
Childish.
But are we really going to launch a million articles? And the problem is these messages, which we don't even know who sent them. We don't have a count.
Well, so I think that the quartering actually brings up a really good point. These DMs aren't the real problem. This video is the problem, right? Like, the DMs themselves might be insubstantial, but if obvious racism is being sent to a black actress and the response from all of conservative media is to go, actually, no, there isn't. It's not racism, and if it is, it's fine, and it's fine. She's overblowing it, and actually, this is an attack on us. That's the actual issue. See, however many DMs she got, the quartering's got over 1 million subs.
We don't, I mean, for all we know, Disney could have sent them as a part of the messaging, as part of a marketing.
False flag the racism, dude. It was Antifa. It was Antifa. They sent Antifa. the eubonics. This is where conservative media is at.
Campaign. I don't know again how many, when they were sent. There's no date on them. There's no account link to them.
Account link?
And they're not really anything to get worked up about. I mean, I get stuff like this all the time. But they turned it into this marketing campaign, which was really dumb because, like, the show is otherwise, I would argue, at least according to Disney, a huge success. But all people are talking about now is this.
So much for go woke, go broke. Wait, wouldn't that be an indication that their woke messaging strategy ended up doing the opposite of going broke? Do we get to count that as a counterexample? Of course, the go woke, go broke thing was always really dumb because they're constantly accusing Disney, the largest media company in the history of the planet, of going woke and on the brink of collapse. And they just keep being the largest media company in history. So, yeah. Like how Captain Marvel made over $1 billion with Brie Larson. Yeah, the quartering was so obsessed with Brie Larson, was sending out so many messages, so many videos about how it was failing and everyone hated it and it's woke and it's SJW and it's bullshit, that I actually thought that the movie failed. I assumed that Captain Marvel failed, but it didn't. Like, at all. Yeah, $1 billion. When was the, hold on, Captain Marvel money, revenue, whatever. Captain Marvel, box office mojo. Yeah, worldwide, $1.1 billion. I didn't even realize it, but remember when they said go woke, go broke for fucking Mad Max Fury Road? And why'd they hate it? They hated it because there was a goddamn woman as the main character. I'd say the main character. Mad Max was the perspective character, you know. Furiosa was the main character. All right, that's enough.